Everyone, I wasn't ready, as you can tell. So hope everyone's doing well. I have missed a couple of weeks, and we're back here to catch up. Let's see if I have to remind anybody of anything. So first and foremost, if you need anything, philquinn.com. That's where my availability is. Secondly, I have no way to squeeze anybody in. Main reason is I can only do so many readings a day in order to do effective readings. I can't turn them over like that, guys, so I'm sorry. If it is opened up, there is a cancellation list, and Greg operates that. Also, people that have been asking about Greg and his workshops, go to gregoryjamil.com. He's also on, his link is also on my website, which is philquinn.com. And all of Greg's programming is right there. He had taken over the last 2 weeks. He did awesome. So, hey, Greg, there he is right there. So, and I was watching those videos, and it's fantastic. So this topic came up tonight because I actually asked Greg to do this topic and why I was away. And for some reason, it came back to me, and I asked, and where it came from was I said to Isaac, I need a topic because I'm running out of topics, so maybe you can help me with this. So his suggestion was taking the first step. So before I go into this topic and how this works for me, Isaac does not give me long-winded explanations when it comes to anything to do with my life. So I'm prefacing this for a reason. So typically when he discusses anything with me personally, it's like a one-word answer. It's very monosyllabic. So in this case, and I'm going somewhere with this story, but taking the first step is very important. So again, I'm out on the mower and trying to figure out what am I going to do for Thursday night, and he says, we're going to talk about taking the first step. He says, because this is one of the things that holds people back in so many ways. Holding people back in not only just fear, but holding people back from success and whatever your view of success is. So he says, I want to help people understand why a guide is interested in helping you taking the first step. So what does the first step means? Letting go, he says. Taking the first step means letting go. And I'll give you my example of letting go. So, as you all know, I struggled with addiction and blah, 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 back in the day, all of that. We don't need to get into all of that again. It's in my previous videos. So it gotten to the point where I was just drinking a liter of gin a day. Like, I mean, it was just, I was consuming huge amounts of alcohol. So, but this was part of my daily routine. And Isaac looked at me and he said, and I said, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to overcome this. I don't know how to release this addiction. And he looked at me and he said, anything is better than what you're doing right there. Anything. He said, mucking stalls is better than what you're doing. So in that instant, he looked at me and he said, let go. And what he meant by let go was let go of this very thing that I believed was serving me and protecting me and helping me and keeping me safe. And really what it was familiarity. It was nothing else. It was that I had given this substance so much power over myself that I believed that if I had let go, I would completely come unhinged, that I wouldn't be able to function. And by the way, it was not easy for anybody that's out there willing to let go. I'm not sitting here saying that this was an easy journey, but the first step was recognizing that the only way to go through the next door was to let go. And what I mean by that was he gave me this next vision that he gave me was this door. So when I saw this glowing door, and I was probably messed up, I mean, who the hell knows? But I saw this glowing door, and he says, in order to go through that door, you have to let go of what's on this side. He said, because you can't bring it into the next room with you. So you're going to stay here drinking, or you're going to go through the next door. He says, but at least on this side, you know the crap that you have. He says, and you don't like it because you complain about it all the time. You're hiding it from everybody. You're doing all of these things. He says, so if you don't like it, you got to go in the next door. But you have to let go of something in order to go in the next door. So for my next step was I was going into treatment. And I didn't go in willingly again. I had to have human guides intervene in this. So as I go into this process, I'm still fighting because I haven't gone through the letting go phase. I haven't gone through I still want to take my will back. And that was the next conversation I got into with Isaac. He says, this is willfulness. He says, and when people get into willfulness, he says, this is when, and he's talking to me now, he says, this is when you get confused about letting go. You want to take back not only your willpower, but you want to take back your old thinking. And the transition of moving from one door into the next means that you have spiritually and emotionally grown. Why is that even relevant? Who the hell cares if you spiritually grow? I mean, really, when you think about it. Well, it matters because we want to accomplish this contract thing that we've all been talking about. We want to accomplish why we really came here to earth. And what we do know is that we didn't come here to drink and drug our lives away. We didn't come here to be sex addicts. We didn't come here to be but we did come here with these conditions that we were going to overcome. There's people that are diabetic that have to manage that and deal with that every day. There's people with food addictions that have to deal with that every day. So there's people with medical conditions that have to deal with these things every day. But Phil, how do I get myself geared up? And the first thing to gear up is taking that first step. So it's acknowledging that I need to do something more than what I'm doing right now. And Isaac says the biggest thing that we can all do for ourselves and the hardest thing that you'll do for yourself is saying, I matter and I need to make a change. I'm in a destructive relationship. I have to let go. Remember, fear is the absence of action. And this is where he's going with this, as he said before, and that's Isaac's statement, is fear is the absence of action. So it's easier to hold on than it is to let go. Because in your mind, when you let go, you don't know where the drop is. When I gave up booze, I didn't know where the drop is. I had no idea where I was going to be dropped off. So I didn't know where I was going to land. I didn't know what was going to happen. And it doesn't just have to be about alcohol. I was so resistant to do Facebook Live. I had to be walked into this also. And guided into this here because, again, resisting. And Isaac says, just let go. What he means is trust the process. So each of us are being guided, whether you like it or not. Your guides are there behind you. But there's just one problem, he says, with guides. We can't force you to do something. We can't make you do something. We can give you every sign. We can give you every symbol. He says, we can give you every dream, but we cannot force you to do something because our job doesn't allow us to interfere with human free will. So angels can do that, but human guides cannot do that. So they can give us sensation, tell us not to go there, not to do this. But, Isaac says, the moment you take the first step, boom, is off to the races, meaning that we can come in to help you. He says, however, this is also something you need to understand. Sorry, I don't mean he talks very fast, so I have to get this out. So when we open up the next door, we think that it's going to be the way that we think it's going to be. And the next room we have never seen, he says. So therefore, you should go in without expectation. You should go in just knowing that this is a whole new world and this is where discomfort comes in. And it's okay, Isaac says, to feel discomfort. It's okay to feel like you're misplaced, but it's not okay to stay there. It's not okay to wallow in that space because it's not going to serve you. So Isaac's main point here is if you want your guides to come into your lives and if you want your guides to operate, then the easiest thing that you can do is one, trust, and B, let go. Let go of the thing that is causing you the most. Isaac says, how do you know what to let go? I think somebody just asked me, is Isaac my guide? Absolutely, that's who I'm talking to, is my guide. So Isaac says, how do you know what it is, the thing that you let go? When the thing that you repeat over and over and over on a daily basis. Why it's your job, why it's your relationship, why it's your siblings. Negative is negative, he says. It doesn't matter who it is. Unhealthy is unhealthy. And if it's unhealthy for you, then you must seek help or you must at least talk to somebody about what's holding you back and what's bothering you. I think I see a hand. Go ahead, Jasper.
So Alex wanted to say one thing, that he loves what you do and he wants to help people as well. He actually has already taken the first step. He is a recovering alcoholic for over a year now.
Oh, congratulations. That's fantastic.
Also, we have something from Leslie. Leslie is having problems with the first step right now. She's having problems with her 17-year-old daughter. She used to be very close with her, but she is finding that she's pulling away.
So, and this is another thing too, is that, and Isaac says, and maybe I can help you with this here, is when someone pulls away, what do? You chase after them. No. When someone pulls away, sometimes we have to give them a little distance because they're trying to figure themselves out. Now, you may not like the process of what's going on with that or how that happens, but sometimes you got to give someone a little space and a little distance to see what's going on. And most importantly, Isaac says, you need a little space and a little distance so you can reassess of what's going on. Because when you're too immersed in something, you can't see everything that's happening. Go ahead, babe.
So for Joe says, for me, it's more like I seem to punish myself for past bad decisions. I feel like I don't deserve to be selfish for what I want and need. Does that make sense?
It kind of does, and people have trouble saying that they're afraid of asking the universe for what they want and what they need because they say, it's selfish. But the universe is here to help us. The universe is here to give us what we need. The universe is here to help us be provided for. Remember, we didn't all come here to be millionaires. That's not what it's all about. It's all about the journey, Isaac says. So he says, you cannot, no one brings money to the other side with them. What they bring is the knowledge, the experience. What they bring is when you get over there and you look at your Akashic records and you open these up, you see, did I accomplish this in this lifetime? And that's the really fascinating part because that's what goes into the soul review. I'm often asked, why does the soul stay around for the first year? The reason the soul stays around for the first year is because they help us through the grief process, but they also help guide us. They help guide us through the pain. They help guide us through the transition. They help guide us through a move if we have to go through a move because they're going to be there with us. No matter where you go or what you do, that's what they're for. But in this particular case, taking the first step is, I want to try yoga. Give yourself permission to do that. I want to try painting. Give yourself permission to do that, Isaac says. By giving yourself permission is taking the step to do it. If you're in an unhealthy situation, give yourself permission to discuss it with somebody. No one's telling you have to put down the drink right away. No one's telling you have to put down the drug right away. But what we do is open up. When you open up, it no longer has power over you. That is the step of letting go. It isn't always easy. It isn't done in a broad stroke, but it does need to be done. So I've taken the first step to try and quit smoking, and I have been unsuccessful. It's even been tough and hard. First of all, congratulations that you've even taken a step to give up smoking. That's taken a step, Isaac says. So just because you fail at giving up on something doesn't mean that you stop trying. It just means that you're finding out another way to give this up. Nobody, Isaac says, out of the gate gets an A+. Doesn't matter who you are or what you are. Nobody is getting an A+ out of the gate. Nobody gives it up, and that's the way it goes. It's just we obsess about it, we think about it, whatever the situation is. So you can reduce how hard you are in yourself because that's one of the ways that we help letting ourselves go. Everybody wants to set themselves up for failure when you have to let go of a fear, Isaac says, because then when you fail at it, you can say, see, didn't work, now I don't have to do it, and I can go back to eating. I can go back to drinking. I can go back to drugging. I can go back to watching porn. I can go back to shopping. I can go back to self-harming. I can go back to sitting on the couch. I can go back to not being part of the family. Whatever it is that is bothering you, you can go back to if you enter this here thinking that you're going to succeed right out of the gate. So there comes a point where you don't necessarily have to try if you're setting yourself up to quit. Go ahead, babe.
Ryson wants to know the first step about grief. He says, Phil, you said unhealthy things we need to let go of. Is grief considered unhealthy?
Is grief considered unhealthy? Absolutely not. Grief is considered part of the process. And Isaac says you can't let go of grief. It would be a fabulous thing that you did, but it's part of the human experience. Grief changes you, alters you, makes you stronger, makes you weaker, shows you who you are, who your friends are, who your friends are not. Grief is the whole part of the process of death. Without grief, there was no love. And that is a true, true statement. So you can't let go of grief. Grief lets go of you. So Isaac says it's just part of the journey that you're going on. Most people try to let go of the grief. That's what delays it, Isaac says. So you just have to ride the wave because there's no way to condense emotions. It's impossible. Go ahead, babe.
So Annalise wants to know, how can our guides help us stay on the right path after the first step? We spoke yesterday, and I have decided to take the first step, but how will my guide help me in going forward?
So after you take the first step, what's your guide's next process? It means that we stay on the process. So the first step means that whatever you're letting go of is that it's a continuation of it day after day after day after day after day. So you're building one day on top of the next. So we don't look at 5 years ahead, 1 year ahead, a month ahead. It's a step by step. And what the guide's purpose is to try and give us some of the comfort to get through this, is to try and give us some of the strength to get through this here. But Isaac says, remember this here, a guide's job, it's not to take away your pain. A guide's job, it's not to make this easy. Because remember, we came here knowing that this was going to be difficult. A guide's job is to get you through it, much like a drill sergeant. And I know people don't really like to hear that, but not to the extent of a drill sergeant, but very much somebody who is grounded and rooted in getting you through the process. So there's love involved, there's caring involved and all of that, but they're not going to allow you to continue bad behavior when it's self-destructive. Go ahead, honey.
Catherine wants to know, how do I realize when it's time to take a step, when it's time to let go?
How do I know when it's time to take a step? When something is repetitive over and over in your head, it is time to take action. So if you're saying to yourself daily over and over again, I don't like this, or I don't like my weight, or I don't like that I smoke, or I don't like this, that is the time that I don't like this school, I don't like this outfit, that is the time where you take a step. Remember, these don't have to be big things. We're not always talking about booze here. We're talking about people that, that can shop, or shoes, or anything that's destructive. But taking the first step is going into this here. Taking the first step also means taking a promotion, Isaac says. It's not just about the negativity. It's about, I'm not worthy of a promotion. What if I fail? What if this doesn't work out for me? What if these things don't go? It's about taking the positive step also. But he says the term taking the step means personal growth. And that's what it really transforms into, that this is all about personal growth. Go ahead, babe.
Every time I work up the courage to take that first step, my mother discourages me. She always goes straight to the worst case scenario. How do I keep my thoughts to myself?
Every time I try to go take that first step, my mother discourages me. How do I keep that to myself, or how do I get out of that negative situation? At that moment, you're seeking approval from somebody else. And Isaac says, taking the first step means keeping responsibility. It means dealing with responsibility. So, and as you deal with responsibility, it means that you don't seek the approval of another person. So, in this case, you would just keep that information to yourself. Never go where you're not wanted, number one. Secondly, don't go to a source that you know is going to be negative regardless. So, that's just the way the process goes. And a lot of people want to go and get the approval of the person that caused them the most pain. Why on earth would we do that? Why on earth would we go to the person that causes us the most pain? To prove to them that we're worthy, to prove to them that I did do it, to prove to them that I could overcome it, to prove to them, see, I am this. And most importantly, we go to the person that is most negative in our life so that they can hold us back. Because I would rather stay stuck than go face what's behind that other door. I'm telling you, it's worth every single step. Not once in my life since I stopped drinking, since I stopped drugging, have I ever worried about what was in the glove compartment of my vehicle. Meaning that the moment I stepped through that door, my whole life changed for the better. Stepping through the door is going to give you something that you don't have in your life, which is peace. Stepping through the door is going to give you something that you don't have in your life, which is change. And it's all change for the better. And a lot of us are fearful of that. A lot of us are unsure of that because we want to control what's behind the door, Isaac says. But don't worry about controlling what's behind the door, rather than giving yourself permission to enter through the door. Go ahead, honey.
I'm sorry, Margaret actually brought up something that you brought up earlier. What do you mean by the soul stays around for the first year?
So, somebody's asking me about this here, Phil. Why would the soul stay around for the first year? So I want to just clarify this real quick. The soul stays around, meaning that it stays earthbound. It stays in your home. It stays in wherever you live for the first year, simply because the individual is helping you get through grief. Then when you sleep, the soul crosses over to the other side and is with family, and then during the day is with us, and they're helping us through the grief process. That's typically what happens for the first year. That way they're able to give you signs, communication, all of those things. So after the year mark, the anniversary mark, they fully pass over to the other side because they've gotten you through some major hurdles. Go ahead, babe.
Juan wants to know, do guides help after the first step, and how do you know they are helping? What signs should I be looking for?
So, well, signs are different for everybody, and I'm going to do a whole new separate video on this here because I need to explain signs further for people. But so the laws of attraction are part of the universal step, meaning that what you project is what you attract. So if you're projecting insecurity, if you're projecting uncertainty, then this is exactly what you're going to get. See, the main reason that I wanted to do this video is everyone's asking me, Phil, Phil, connect us with our guides. Phil, do this. I can't. And I can't do it because I don't have the time, number one. And number two, you have to be in this space to do it, and that's where Greg comes into it. If you go to gregoryjamil.com, you're going to see what Greg has to offer. Greg has the time to be able to get you centered into the space to communicate with your guides. I simply don't, guys. I would love nothing more than to teach a class and or on stage, and maybe I will one day, of how this process works. But Greg is very efficient at this here. But part of this whole thing is about how do I center, how do I connect, how do I communicate, how do I do the things that I need to do in order to get into the next step. And that's what we're talking about here. It means putting yourself first. It means giving yourself permission to have the things that you want. It means that you matter over all the other things. Because if that's the case, then you can be fun. Go ahead, hon.
Lillian has a question about her boyfriend. Her boyfriend actually has an addiction problem, and she wants to know what she can do to help him take the first step.
So here's one of the things. When someone has trouble, well, Isaac says this is complicated. When somebody has trouble with a substance, the individual has to believe or know that they have trouble with the substance. You can't do anything to help the individual. The individual has to want help. And when it came down to me, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. Yes, there was people that helped me and got me to where I was in order to get clean. But what we do is we be supportive. But we don't look the other way. There has to be accountability. But most importantly, you have to ask yourself, is it a good place for you to be? If the other person doesn't want help, should you be staying in a relationship when the individual is not doing their end of the deal? And that's the question you have to ask yourself, Isaac says. Go ahead, babe.
Jamila wants to know, what if the person I was supposed to let go of because he was an alcoholic and because I was a codependent just died? Do we both fail the contract?
No, actually you don't fail the contract. So what happens is that the test will you meet somebody else again who was either alcoholic and or codependent, and will you repeat the same pattern over again? So if you hopefully break the pattern, then the contract is fulfilled and you move on to the next thing. So it's not where you both failed the contract. Remember, this is a serious addiction that we're talking about when we talk about booze, pills, all of these things. This isn't about just putting something down. This is a severe thing that dominates people's lives that they're not able to talk about because of shame, because of the power the substance has over them. So don't ever use the word failure when you lose somebody to addiction. So it's the disease that wins. It's not the individual has nothing to do with it. They try their best to get over it, but we can also do certain things to get them through it. Go ahead, Darn.
Leslie wants to know, gut instincts, is that my soul telling me to move forward and take the first step? Perfect question. Is my gut instincts the other side or my soul telling me to take the first step? 100%. It's your soul telling you this is the direction to go. Always follow this. And this is the other thing too. A lot of people get upset with themselves because they often say in hindsight, I should have listened to my gut. I should have listened to my gut.
Your gut will never, ever, ever lie to you. It will never deceive you. It will never send you down the wrong path. It will never put you in a place that you don't belong. What does that is your head, because your head wants what your head wants. So, and your heart wants what your heart wants, but your gut will always tell you the truth no matter what the situation is. Hello, Katie Kendrick. I love you and miss you. I'd be absolutely nothing without you. So good to see you there. I worked with Katie for years and did groups with her for years. I love you so much. Go ahead, Jasper.
Doris wants to know, Phil, if someone is stuck in a constant state of grief and doesn't take that first step, will their loved one be able to rest in peace?
Yes. So if someone is unable to take the first step in grief, will their loved one be able to rest in peace? Absolutely. But remember, they have eternity, so there's no rush. So here's the whole thing. Everybody thinks that when someone dies, they then have to be concerned about, are they resting at peace? Look, you can't ask them to look after you and then rest in peace at the same time. It doesn't work like that, guys. It's up to the soul when they're going to choose it. Once they're on the other side, they're already at peace. It's not that they're not resting at peace. It's not that they're in some sort of realm where they're unsettled. It's that they're trying to help you through the process. Some people have to sell houses. Some people are dealing with kids. Some people are dealing with a lack of income. Some people are dealing with so many different things that have to happen in their lives that the souls stay around to get them through that process. Sometimes that takes a year. Sometimes that takes 5 years. It's up to whatever the situation that happens. Go ahead, babe.
There's a couple of things about the gut instinct that we were talking about. One person asks, how do you know the difference between your heart and your gut? And another person asks, how do you know what your gut is saying? How do you know when it's your gut speaking?
So your gut is always louder than your heart because it rumbles, and it's more dominant. Your heart romanticizes and fantasizes about everything. It will take a situation and it will kind of rub out anything that's negative, and it glorifies everything else. That's how we know the heart is. The heart makes very rash, quick decisions. The gut is very stern. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Or do this, will you do this, will you do this? Oh, for the love of God, will you do this? So it's very repetitive. Versus the heart is very romantic sizes and like, oh, it's going to be this and it's going to be that, because that's what the heart chakra does. It's built to love. So, and it's also, it's a dangerous chakra. Go ahead, babe.
So what if you take the first step and you're disappointed with the results and want to go back? Do you keep going?
You keep going. Yes. Oh, by the by, when you take the first step, you will be disappointed with the results because you're giving up the thing that you've held on to for a very, very long time. And Isaac says, one thing I want to remind everybody about, and Phil didn't share this, resentment will kill you. And people that hold on to resentment, it turns to disease. So resentment is a thing to let go of. Hatred is a thing to let go of. Fear is a thing to let go of. But resentment can also just be as sickening as the other things that we have discussed. So these are things that are happening in our lives and happen on a daily basis. And if we get hold of these, it brings us to the next step. And that's where, again, people ask me, how do I get in contact with our guides? So, and that's where Greg has created a program where you can go right on his website and check that out. For everybody that's asking me, unfortunately, I can't do it at this time. Maybe I'll teach a workshop one day. But right now I can't. So taking the first step is the biggest thing that you can do in your life. And let me tell you, I've had to take a lot of first steps. Just like everybody else out there. You guys have experienced things that I have not experienced. You've buried children. I don't have children. You've buried your partner. I haven't had to do that, and God forbid I ever have to do that. So I mean, you've gone through things that I haven't gone through, and it shocks me that, and I'm absolutely baffled how people are able to get up every single day. And that's how I know the human race has the ability to change and survive, because as long as we're willing to change, we stand a chance. And that's what we're all here to do. This is just a place of positivity. It's not a place of preaching. It's not a place of anything else. This is just a place where we can let out, talk about our positive feelings, talk about our heart, talk about whatever it is, and nobody be judged. And that's all the space that I wanted to create. I wasn't up here to get famous or anything like that. I was up here that I wanted to create a little secure space on a Thursday night where everyone could talk about their feelings, and I didn't know how it was going to work out, and it worked out incredibly. But it worked out incredibly because you all took the first step and you clicked on my page, you clicked the like button, and you start sharing your stories. So, and that's how we got here. So for all the people at Facebook and YouTube who tune in every week, I'm immensely grateful. But the most important thing is that you take the first step in your lives. So I'm taking the first step in my life again, and I'm going to continue these Thursday nights as much as I possibly can to help you all. And I hope you continue to take your first step in sharing this with your stories with me. Just when we talk about who you've lost, just when you talked about who you are. So if anybody needs me, philquinn.com. Anybody that wants to check out Greg's program is gregoryjamil.com. He is on my website. It's right there. I will not be here next Thursday, I don't believe. If I am, I'll let you know. And if I'm not, Greg is going to be taking over. And I will see you all soon. Take care, guys. God bless.